Hello YouTube, this is the Metaphysical Engineer with an in-depth look at the control box for my VU Mater display. On the input side here, it has a pair of RCA inputs. Right now it's two-channel. I've had it configured for the left and the right to be mixed together into a mono signal and then sent out one of the outputs. Goes from those jacks in around to the front panel with the input gain. These can go from attenuate by 1/2 to 50 times positive gain, so it can take a wide range of inputs. Down here we have a pair of indicator lights. The amber one right there, though it appears kind of white in the video, indicates that the power supply has mains input and its standby rail is operating, and the green light there, if it were on, would indicate that the power supply was turned on and stabilized and ready to go. Just a little toggle switch there. Now over here to the output side, these potentiometers are fine-tuning output gain after the internal amplifiers and filters have split the bass and the treble, so the bass here and the treble here can be adjusted independently. There are two output channels. I'm only using one of them for right now, but the same bass and treble fine-tuning for the other channel. Signal output comes out and goes to the display bar there by means of a two-wire phone line. However, the sockets I'm using are 6-wire, so if I wanted to add extra signal lines, maybe relays driving some other type of display, I could. Just need to do a bit more soldering inside to connect the rest of those pins on the socket. Power for the display is nominal 12 volts, has a quick disconnect type plug just so I can take the display off of the control box for transport. Makes it a lot easier. This is just 18 gauge speaker cable. Bought 30 feet of it and didn't trim it at all because I wasn't sure how far away I'd ever want to run the display from the control box. So right now that's wrapped around a piece of wood so it doesn't get everywhere. And now I think it's time to open up the case and show what's inside. Opening the unit up, in the back is the ATX power supply. In the front, underneath all those wires, is the filter and amplifier board. That is connected to the front panel and signal inputs and outputs by means of a pair of parallel ATA hard drive ribbon cable connectors. The one here I've hot glued some stripped wire ends into to form a male connector. The other one was left as is. This allows me to pull the entire filter board out of the unit for repairs or modification. The power supply likewise has a quick disconnect type thing. There's a mini Molex, and then I hot glued 3 wires together to form a male connector for that. Red carries positive 12 volts, green is ground, and the black is negative 12 volts. That runs down to the corner of the amplifier board into a little RC filter that smooths out any noise on the power supply's plus 12 and minus 12 rails, and produces a plus 9.8, minus 9.8 for the op amps. So, give me a sec, I'll unplug those connectors and get a better look at the board. For input gain, we have a TL072 dual op amp, and that just amplifies the input and provides a good drive signal to the active filters, which are driven by a pair of TL074 quad op amps. The right high-pass filter output goes there, right low-pass filter there, left high-pass filter there, left low-pass filter there. Over there, there's 4 troubleshooting output resistors, but I ended up not using those because this board miraculously worked right after I made it and didn't have any faults or solder bridges or dry joints or whatever yet. It's still only had a few tens of hours of operation, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed so I won't have any infant mortality. In the corner there, as I pointed out in the previous take, there is the little RC filter there that cleans up the input split supply for the op amps. Up there's a look at the pins on the parallel ATA connector. I just hot glued little strips of copper wire in there. Not the best long-term solution, but for now it works. Over here is the female connector, which is connected to the actual housing there. If I disconnected the board like that, and likewise disconnected the power for the board, I could pull that circuit board right out in case there was a failure I needed to repair, or if I were to add components in the future, because I have a lot of board space, and there are a few ideas that I have for future additions to the circuit. Back there, the power supply again, and gonna plug some things in and give a bit of a demonstration. Got the quick disconnect on the signal wires put back together. Unit draws about 1.7, 1.8 on standby, and power supply gets a tiny bit warm to the touch, but that's alright. Give it a switch on. Green light, power supply is stable. Those Christmas lamps serve as a dummy load, otherwise this ATX type power supply couldn't regulate properly because its output is never meant to run with no load and thus can't really throttle down far enough to maintain its output voltage when there's no computer to power, so just stick a small thing that's about 5 or 6 watts on the 5-volt voltage rail, and that makes it able to regulate properly. So I'm gonna swing over here, give it a bit of music, and just see what the display does. There's the display, and over there, only about 12.5 watts, maybe a bit less. And shut off the display, and 11.2, about 6 of that for the dummy load, another couple for the fan, another couple is waste. And so, thanks for watching.